Well, the Indianapolis Colts made a flurry of roster moves today, and I can honestly say that I expected only one of the 5 roster moves made today, Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. We're going to cover all of them and really get an inside take as to what this means for the Colts and where we're going, kind of just get an idea of what the heck is going on ahead of the game against the Chargers. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And the Colts, obviously, the big one that they made was they placed Anthony Richardson on the injured reserve that is going to eliminate him for the next 4 games. Now, the big thing that I think everyone expected was who were the Colts going to sign at quarterback. They brought in a slew of quarterbacks, including names of guys like Kyle Trask and various others. No one really was like a big name backup quarterback, even though there were plenty out there on the market, even some available on practice squads and trades. The guys that have been in the Colts system, like Jason Bean, Sam Ehlinger, who is on the practice squad for Denver, guys that maybe know the system a little bit more. This move, I think, points to the Colts really liking what they have in their system right now. So they added, the first move we'll talk about is they added Brett Rypien to their practice squad. Now, if you remember Brett Rypien, he has been if you don't remember him, don't worry, because he's not really done all that much. He's 29 years old. He's played with the Denver Broncos for 3 seasons, and then he played with the Rams and then the Cincinnati Bengals. Played in 3 games in 2020, 1 in 2021, 4 games in 2022, 2 games in 2023, and 1 game with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is where I think this is kind of making sense, and I'll get to this. So please hold on, because I promise you there is something important coming here. His touchdown to interception ratio is 4-9. Now, why in God's name will the Colts sign this guy as a backup, given the potential history of Daniel Jones and maybe what you hope to see from him? You hope everything is good. You hope he's going to be healthy for a long, long time, but you obviously want to get a quality backup. I think the Colts already have that because they signed Brett Rypien to their practice squad, which means their unofficial depth chart for the week has Riley Leonard listed as QB2. Now, if you saw Riley Leonard in training camp and in preseason, we liked what we saw. He looked good. He looked electric and honestly has a very similar play style to Daniel Jones. He's a mobile quarterback, or he's a pocket passer quarterback who makes good decisions, good throws. He's not going to wow you with some crazy off-the-wall backflip throw like Patrick Mahomes or Jacoby Brissett this past week with the Arizona Cardinals, but he is one of those that's going to make the throws that you want him to make. He's going to throw to guys who are route-running wide receivers, which is what the Colts have right now. I think Brett Rypien is just to be that emergency QB3, which means all signs point to Riley Leonard getting the nod at QB2, pending anything crazy happening. Because Brett Rypien is not a guy that you want to throw. You don't want to throw anything. You don't want to put any pressure on him. I mean, this is a guy that has a 58% completion percentage. Not that our current backup quarterback before going on IR had a better completion percentage. But he's only thrown in 3 games. He has 295 yards in 2020. In 4 games, he had 483 yards. He averages just over or just under 100 yards a game that he's played in so far. 12 sacks. I mean, just really just very lackluster performance, which is, I think, again, not that you're looking for something crazy in a backup quarterback, but it is surprising. So that's not even the most shocking move that the Colts made, because the direct correlation move between putting Anthony Richardson on the injured reserve was they actually signed Ruben Lowry, who was claimed by the Colts. He was released by the Baltimore Ravens on Monday. Now, this is why that's interesting. Ruben Lowry, undrafted, coming out of Chattanooga, played 100% of the team's defensive snaps coming from the Ravens. Now, obviously, one thing to note is that the Ravens have been very, very bad defensively. But I don't think that that's necessarily, you can't blame all one guy. They do have a lot of really good guys on that team. And Ruben Lowry, obviously one that I think, again, played 100% of snaps. This is a guy who I think could be really, really good. And again, is just one of those that adds depth to a room that the Colts need a lot of depth. Now, they released, in a correlating move, they released Keydrine Callahan. But they also made a couple more moves. I want to kind of go back, though, into Ruben Lowry. they signed him to the practice squad. And again, undrafted out of Chattanooga. I'm pulling up his stats here. He played 100%. He had last week, he had 5 tackles, 1 solo. And it looks like he's really potentially going to be a guy that could make the 53-man roster. I mean, it's a safety, another position that the Colts need as much depth as they can get right now. This, I think, also points to the potential of the Colts getting back their cornerbacks, because they released Keydran Callahan, who was their cornerback. Ruben Lowry is a safety. And so I think that this points a lot to Kenny Moore, Jalen Jones being guys that we can expect to see back hopefully this week. The Colts also, again, this is a crazy day that the Colts made 6 roster moves in one day on a Tuesday following a win where almost no one in the game actually got like a long-term injury. There's no injury designation following the game, but they signed Byron Matos and they released Marcellus Johnson from the practice squad. They signed Byron Matos, who is an offensive tackle. They signed him to the practice squad. They are signing offensive tackle Brian Matos, who is an International Pathway Program player from the Dominican Republic. The Colts announced that they are releasing Marcellus Johnson as the corresponding move, which opens up a spot on the practice for Matos. The Colts currently do not have an IPP player, which means Matos could fit that role. If that's the case, then a corresponding cut does not have to be made. Now, I'm going to be straight up. I don't know much about the IPP program other than the fact that it doesn't necessarily count for or against your practice squad players. They are exempt and do not count towards the practice squad roster, allowing teams to carry 17 players. However, IPP players are not eligible to play on Sunday with that designation. So, in again, the very limited knowledge I have of IPP, they would have to then drop that IPP designation and sign them to that sounds bad. Sign him to the practice squad and drop the IPP designation, and then he would be eligible to play on Sunday. I think this is a depth move. The Colts don't have any offensive line injuries as of right now that are lingering. It does seem that they this is just a depth move. I also think it's I don't think there's anything really there. The big ones though, Ruben Lowry and Brett Rypien, I really think at this point the Colts really liking what they have in Riley Leonard. Again, he played very, very well. And honestly, I really liked him coming out of college. God forbid anything happened to Daniel Jones, but if it were, I'm glad to know that we have a quarterback in Riley Leonard who is likely going to be the backup going forward. And who knows? Who knows in 4 weeks when the Colts get Anthony Richardson back from injury? Who knows if he's going to continue to be that QB2 slot or if Riley Leonard can continue making his way up into the quarterback room. We'll see. Again, hopefully none of this matters. Hopefully none of these roster moves make a difference, but in the instance that they do, it's good to see that the Colts are adding depth in positions where they need them and that they are trusting the guys that they have in their system. Let me know in the comments what you think, and we will see you on the next one.